so much for joining us during this momentary distraction of simple amusements and magic. Well, good evening, good afternoon, and hello wherever you are. My name is Chris Herren. I am your host at Faust Company. Thank you so much for joining us once again. I was taking a look at the comment section. Micah, Edward, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you're out there, please say hello. And I see that Michael is out there. Hello to you. I'm stoked as well. Edward, once again, good. And Jessica, I see that you're out there today. Everyone out there, I do believe it's Jessica's birthday today, and I did prepare something for her. So Jessica, this is for you, and a happy birthday to you if it is in fact your birthday today. Take a look at this, everyone. Happy birthday, Jessica, and I hope it is a very special day for you. Ladies and gentlemen, recently I was asked why I do this live stream that you see here today that I call Faust Company. Well, I kind of thought about it a little bit, and I wanted to say that my thoughts on that is that my mentor had always taught me that magic is a community to share magic. And as much as I like sharing my own magic and taking the screen for myself, I think what I love most is being able to share magic from my friends and loved ones and people that I admire most. And I'm proud to say that everyone who's been on the show has been someone that I admired both on and off the stage. And if any of you can get a little bit of a golden nugget of wisdom from the guests that have been on, then I'm happy too. But most of all, I do hope that all of you are just simply having fun. And so that's the essence of Faust Company, in case you're wondering. And if you're out there once again, thank you so much for tuning in. So we begin this show today with a little bit of a video reel from my friends who were just on Tuesday, Raven and Mix. They're having a virtual show March 27th, and they actually donated this new video to me. So please take a look and enjoy. But when we come right back, we meet our featured guest.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Raven and Mix.
Raven, and together we are Slightly Mental. Thank you both very much. Have a wonderful evening. We appreciate it.
Like I said, if you're not following them already, please follow them on Facebook. They are regular Magic Castle performers, and they have a show coming up, and I think you'll enjoy very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our featured guest of the evening. He is a good friend of mine. He is a magician, a mind reader, and also an escape artist. He is a featured performer at Buddy Aid Benefit Magic Show and also Sonic Cinema Experience. He is a proud member of the IBM International Brotherhood of Magicians and the Society of American Magicians. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause and threes in the comments section for our featured guest, Trent Rentsch. Trent, welcome to Faust Company, my friend. It is a pleasure to have you. You have so many people out there watching you today, and the comment section is just blowing up. I can't keep up. Welcome, my friend.
Sorry, I had a, well, you know. How are you doing, Chris? It's good to see you.
Wonderful, wonderful. A great opener for all of us out there. I can see that Michael Mirth is out there.
Hey, Michael.
I'm sure he wants to say hello. And also Micah's out there. Just to let you know, Trent, that you are loved.
Micah.
Thank you so much for coming. You know,
well, this is absolutely my pleasure, my friend.
And you know what I did forget to mention in your little intro there is that aside from being a mind reader, a mentalist, and a magician, you're an overall silly person, from what I had heard.
That's a very good point. Yes. Yeah. You know, life's too short to be sad and boring. So, you know.
Absolutely. Trent, you know, I would love to ask you, before we get on with some magic here,
sure.
I would love to know your origin story as far as how you got into magic. Is there a story behind the magic that you do on stage, Trent?
There absolutely is, and it's an unlikely journey. A lot of people who are asked how they got started in magic talk about their grandfather pulling a coin out of their ear, right? Or they talk about a magic show that they went to, or maybe their parents took them to a magic store or a department store that had the little counter, the little magic counter, you know. Yeah. All of those things happened in my life, but I will tell you my earliest magical experience, Chris. This happened, picture if you will, a small rural church in South Dakota in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
I was 4 years old, and my aunt was performing in a church recital, playing piano. So she had done her thing, and everyone else had sang and done their thing. And of course, in the Midwest, you can't have a church recital without a church potluck afterwards. So everyone retired to the basement and started eating, you know, all of the different casseroles and the Jell-O that, you know, it either had fruit or it had carrots in it. It depended on whether it was a dessert or a side dish. They're down there eating. The whole group is gathered together, and as usual, I wolf my food down as fast as humanly possible. I still do that, Chris. And I found myself back upstairs, back up in the main part of the church. And I was looking at the pulpit. And I thought to myself, that's a stage. I guess it hadn't occurred to me that the pulpit was a stage until that moment. But in my 4-year-old brain, I went, I want to be on that stage. And so I, never being shy at all, I ran up on the stage. And as my parents put it, they start hearing all this commotion and laughter and applause upstairs. And they come up to find me imitating the Beatles and doing Kellogg's Cornflakes commercials from the pulpit of this little church. And was that magic? It absolutely was. Did it begin my journey in magic? It absolutely did, because at that moment, I realized the magic of entertaining.
Yes.
Yeah. And I haven't stopped since. Now, I will say one thing that happened that day. As we were driving away, I told myself, I'm going to be an entertainer the rest of my life. If I can just get an accordion, it would just be an awesome show. Still don't have the accordion, Chris, but I have still been performing off and on over the years.
Well, that's a wonderful story, because I think I relate to that very much. The first time I ever met Jeff McBride, and as you know, a legend in magic, he had told me that the smile that you give to people is real magic. And I can understand that effect that had with you when you were on that stage. Trent, is there a first magic trick that really affected you? And because there is a point where magicians take it from being a hobby to the professional stage. What was that point for you? Was there someone or something that influenced that in you?
There absolutely was. It started with my aunt, the same aunt, by the way, that was at the piano recital. At some point, she decided that she was going to forgive me, and started showing me some little magic tricks that had been handed down in the family.
Yeah.
And she had this little plastic mummy in a sarcophagus.
Ah.
And she would put the mummy in the sarcophagus, and it would lay there still. And then she'd take it out and hand it to me and say, put it in the sarcophagus. And I'd do that, and the mummy would hop out.
Ah.
And I couldn't get him to lay still. And it was driving me insane. And she would not tell me how she was doing this. And she would take it back, and it's laying back in the sarcophagus. I spent 3 years trying to figure that silly little thing out every time that we went to my grandparents' house. Yeah. Right. And it was then that it occurred to me, and especially when I figured it out, that there are tricks, there are puzzles to be solved. And once you've solved them, you have to figure out how to make them entertaining for people.
Right.
You know, so it became more than, because after I learned the trick and I went, oh, okay, so the mummy's in there. So now what?
Right.
Right. Well, that's a puzzle that's been solved.
Yeah.
But if you can wrap that puzzle into something that has some meaning to it,
yes,
that's when it turns into real magic and true entertainment. And I was fairly young then, but it certainly occurred to me at that time. Of course, I grew up in the years of Ed Sullivan was still doing his show. Yes. And so many wonderful variety acts went through that program. And every Sunday night, they would have magicians and jugglers and impersonators and no end of variety performers, because, of course, none of them had been performing since vaudeville had died. And now suddenly TV was there. Right. And so I got to see a lot of these great performers in their twilight years, taking many times relatively very simple effects and wrapping them into these wonderful stories.
Right.
And it just made such a huge impression on me. And I always go for that. I don't know that I'm ever getting there, but it's certainly a lot of fun to try. Anyway.
Is there a particular magician that influenced you to that kind of magic?
I would say Mark Wilson was a huge influence early on.
Yes.
Mark and Nani. And of course, then Mark went on to help Bill Bixby do a television show called The Magician.
Yes.
It lasted, sadly, only one season because of a writer's strike.
Oh.
But Bill was Mark Wilson, basically, as a detective, is what it came down to. And he was suave, and he was cool, and he was thin, and I was a fat little kid, and but I was so enamored of, oh, Mr. Suave, Mr. Cool, and he's telling these stories, and people are going, woo, this guy's cool, and he's driving a white Corvette. I mean, a white Corvette, Chris, for crying out loud. This guy's got it made, and he lived in the top of the Magic Castle. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's right.
Who wouldn't want that life? Am I right?
I'm sure I would. Yes.
Well, I think we all would. Of course, now we know that there's no such thing as an apartment in the top of the Magic Castle, but a man can dream, Chris. So, but then came along, and I'll share this with you. Oh, there goes my earbuds. Isn't that just the way?
That's the way it is. That's what live streaming is.
Is that what that is? Yeah.
Would you like a solo screen, Trent, so we can all
yeah, I can show you this, because this was where my next big influence happened.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was around 1974. And I will tell you that arguably the most popular magician of that time was Doug Henning. Now, in 1974, I was an overweight teenager who was not playing with a full magic deck. Now, in 1974, Doug Henning starred in the Broadway hit musical, The Magic Show, and he spent his evenings with beautiful exotic women doing magic. In 1974, I spent my Saturday nights playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends. In 1974, Doug Henning was on every major show that you could have seen at that point. Of course, Johnny Carson was a big one. And he would come on with these big illusions. And one of the illusions that he did was to take one of his assistants and stick them in a box, like so. Then they'd do a jaunty dance, because Doug was very good about jaunty dances. And then, Chris, he took the middle of that assistant along with the middle of the box.
Wonderful.
And pulled it to the side, right? And then, of course, Doug being Doug, he did another jaunty little dance, and the assistant's middle went back where it was supposed to, and the assistant came out of the box completely restored. And Chris, it's 2021, and I'm here to tell you, I still have no idea how he did it.
Yeah. Well,
to this day, no idea.
You and me both, Trent. Thank you so much for sharing that amazing piece of magic. It is quite nostalgic. I do have an old booklet of Doug Henning's shows when he took it off Broadway, and I've always been influenced by Doug Henning. So it was a nice story and a nice summary to that what could be a very simple trick. And I know that you are in, we've had this discussion before. We talked about the creative process, and I think that very trick alone you could do in 5 seconds.
Oh, easily, yes.
But the way you brought it together in terms of storytelling and meaning, I think that is something that I have been fascinated with, because it is a very difficult thing to do, to give magic meaning. And I know you've written an article on creativity. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, I have. And, I really appreciate. Oh, Dr. Ross wants to know why the lady in your house gets so upset when he tries to come through the bathroom window. Ed Underwood, you are a crazy man. You are absolutely, he's crazier than I am, Chris. And that I set the bar pretty high. So you got to be careful. But what state am I in? What were we talking? Oh, we're talking about creativity, right? Okay. Yeah.
Before Ed came in.
Yeah, Ed, leave it to Ed to just completely derail me. But My background after I did magic, and I got to watch this earbud because the other one flew somewhere, no idea where. But I got to hold on to at least half my sound. After I did magic and had gotten into high school, I was performing, and then in college, of course, performing magic for beer money, quite frankly. And then I got into theater.
Yes.
And I was a big theater kid and was a character actor, and was very much into the process of creating different characters and different voices, especially voices. Voices have always been amazing to me, and I seem to have an ear for picking up accents and crazy voices and translating them through my mouth.
Trent, can I stop you real quick? Would you
Yes.
mind giving us an example of some of those voices that you can do?
Oh, I don't know if I could do anything like that. You know,
This is really a lot of fun to be on your show, Chris. Oh gosh. Hello, the old vaudevillian comedian. He comes out all the time. I can't help myself. It happens, you know. But that so I was okay. So this was a kind of character actor that I was, Chris.
Yeah.
For instance, we would do a British sitcom on stage, and everyone's doing British accents in South Dakota, which is comedy in itself. But I was the only one who was speaking in a German accent and speaking fluent German through the whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I was the crackpot that always did the crazy stuff, and so that translated to a job in radio. I had gotten married to my first wife while I was still in college, needed a gig, and a friend said, yes, Jonas, Robin Williams and Trent Rentsch. If I could only be Robin Williams, that wouldn't be good. I wouldn't be sitting here right now. But right. No, we ended up in radio, and I love the term theater of the mind. I thought that was awesome. You mean I can sit in a little room and develop characters and do all these crazy voices and be Santa at Christmas time. You know, I'd be an elf if I had to be an elf, you know, that kind of thing. And so my niche turned into the creative process within radio at that time. And magic took a sidestep for many years for me, quite frankly, Chris.
Yeah.
I devoted myself to radio and a radio production. I was a creative director at a couple of stations. Worked for a kids radio network out in Seattle for about a year until they had folded. But I was their goofy voice guy and would go play human amusement parks and things like that. Yeah. But during that entire time, somehow or another, this guy who had a radio trade magazine had discovered me and said, would you like to do an article about creativity? And I thought it would be a one-off.
Yeah.
I ended up doing a monthly article for 25 years about creativity.
Yes.
And it was called And Make It Real Creative. Mm-hmm. And it was about the challenges that people have just living a life while they're living a creative life.
Right.
And there's a lot of challenge to that. Yeah. And so I come at magic now, when I have come back into the magic world, as someone who has been telling these little short stories to try to get people to buy laundry detergent or the latest Xbox or any sort of advertising you can possibly imagine. And so it becomes, for me, a medium of touching people, just like I was trying to touch people in my past life in advertising, which, by the way, I am still in advertising, but
yes. Well, I have to ask you, Trent, would you define your style of magic as being more storytelling? or is
Absolutely. I think that if you don't have a good story to tell, no, I'm not going to say this. I was going to say it's going to be boring if you don't have a good story to tell. That's not true, because Eugene Berger, of course, famously said, "The House of Magic has many rooms."
many rooms, right?
My room happens to be padded. So, that's just how it goes. I live in a rubber room. So hey, Phil, how you doing?
Phil,
Oh,
hello
so
to
good
Phil.
to see you,
Yes,
my friend.
he was our past guest here recently as well. So
I rewatched his episode just
That's
today. What
right.
a terrific show.
Trent,
And you want me to do magic following Phil. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Phil is a Bay Area legend here. He's a legend in magic to begin with, and we were just honored to have him. But you mentioned you did watch him, and he is also a storyteller as far as magic. Trent, I'd be interested. Do you have any a storytelling piece that you can share with us today?
Well, funny you should ask, Chris. Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. Let's see if camera B is working over here. Of course, it's not. So hang on a minute. Let's get that. Let's make sure it is, and then we will go to camera B. Of course, I mentioned to you, Chris, that I grew up in South Dakota, little college town called I lived in Sioux Falls, but I actually grew up in Brookings, South Dakota, which is a little college town on the eastern side. And what I found so interesting, Chris, over the years is watching Facebook and seeing so many people that I went to high school with continuing to live in Brookings, South Dakota, live their lives together, and still having their little cliques together as the years have gone by, right? And I found that fascinating because, yes, I still have some close friends from those years, but not as close as they have continued to be for the last, I'm going to say it, 40 decades or 4 decades, Chris. It only feels like 40 some days.
That's all right.
But I came across this little piece and I decided to make it an homage to all of my classmates who have continued to live in Brookings, South Dakota, and spend time together. So this is a tale of 8 young lives. 4 were girls and 4 were guys. Now, the girls played alone. The boys called them Snooty. And the boys were convinced that the girls all had cooties. Mm-hmm. But then puberty hit, as puberty does. The boys chased the girls. Their brains were abuzz. Well, they all mixed it up, and then they mixed up again. Chris, some became lovers. And, well, some became friends. You see, at times, Chris, there were fights that would cut them in two.
Yeah.
But the cruelest cut came from somebody new. You bastard. Oh, goodness. After that, they took sides. Once again, 4 and 4. But storm clouds pass over. And they ended the war. They came back together, hand in hand, 2 by 2. 4 couples, 8 friends, and my story is through.
Wonderful, Trent. Wonderful. I love it. I love storytelling magic. That is something that I aspire to do. And as you know, my magic usually doesn't talk much at all. But thank you so much for sharing that magic with all of us, Trent. Thank you.
Well, again, this a simple effect, but wrapping it in something that hopefully is meaningful to the people that are watching it. That's my greatest hope with all of my magic. Luna yes, Shimada is on.
I wanted to say, for people out there, Luna Shimada is a legend in magic, and we are happy. So it seems like your viewership here, Trent, is full of legends tonight. So
I'm a lucky man. I'm a
you
lucky
are
man,
lucky.
and I'm not worthy. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not worthy.
So
Absolutely.
a lot of pressure today. She said hello, hi back to Luna, and Trent. Thank you once again for the magic.
Oh,
Now,
that was so much fun to do. Yeah.
now before I want to discuss where people can reach you, Trent. But first off, I know you have a full show, and I want if you could sum it up. I would like to know what you think, or what do you want people to walk out of once they see you performing? Is there anything that you shoot for the audience?
It's a funny thing that Luna is here with us because she was literally here in Raleigh, North Carolina over the week. And we didn't get a chance to get together until yesterday. And we spent a little time together talking magic
Oh,
before she had to fly away back to Vegas. And she asked me what I wanted to do with my magic career. And I said, honestly, I want everybody to walk away wiping the tears from their eyes, chuckling about this, chuckling about that, and just saying, what a great fun time we had with this man.
yes.
And and I want to talk about this a little bit more towards the end, but for me, I want to be that pebble that makes positive ripples in this world and makes the world a little happier place. And if it means being a fool and silly and being who I am, and it makes people happy, I'm all for it. I'm going to play with my strengths.
Right. Well, I appreciate your thoughts, Trent, and you know what? That sums up the real meaning of magic and why I do it as well. So thank you for your thoughts. I actually saw Kenton Nepper out there as well. So
Kenton, man, I have got royalty out there tonight.
You do, my friend, and I'm honored that I'm able to host you on this platform. Trent, before I forget, if people want to see you, I'm going to put up your website here in case anyone wants to know, www.trentmagic.com. And can they find some of your articles on creativity out there? I know Kyle out there was saying he'd love to read some of your work. Where can he read your your publications?
He can actually read those. Oh gosh, what is the website now? I believe it's called radioandproductionmagazine.com. And there's about 25 years worth of it on there. And
but he could probably reach out to you for that information.
Oh, of course. Anybody that has any interest in reading my writing, I'll be right there shoveling it down your face because I need attention, Chris. I really do.
Well, attention you have today, because I just saw Raven from the Magic Castle show up as well, and he was a guest on Tuesday. So I can't say enough. A star-studded audience today just for you, Trent.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So you have the novice at the cardtable.com is also something that you could you tell us a little bit about that?
Certainly. When I did get back into magic some years ago, it's been almost 5 years before I got serious about it again. I decided that I needed a lever. Everybody, or I could say a kick in the you-know-where, but a lever works. And I felt that if I put it out into the world, that perhaps the world would say, okay, we'll keep working at it, right?
Right.
So I started this blog, and of course, the idea is based on the wonderful book, The Expert at the Card Table.
Yes.
Which was the professor's favorite book, of course, Di Vernon, who famously said that he found the book when he was age 5. It's a heady book, as you know, Chris.
Yes.
And he was learning things from this at age 5. And he said his only regret was that he wasted the first 5 years of his life.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
So when I started the blog, I was 55, and I decided to call it The Novice at the Card Table, wasting the first 55 years of my life. And
Yes.
so I started chronicling my journey, and I talk about going to Magic and Meaning. There's a lovely 2-part piece that it's only lovely because of the names I get to drop in it that I got to meet at Magic and Meaning.
Right.
But just kind of my process and where I'm at and where I'm going with things, and it's been a lot of fun to write that. And you putting it up there reminds me I need to write a new one here very soon.
Well, I have it up there, Trent, the novice at the card table for everyone to look at. And also, just real quickly, you do have an Instagram, so everyone out there, give Trent the follow. Just a wonderful guy all around, and a silly person, not to mention. And then you are also on Facebook as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is always a great pleasure to have wonderful guests like Trent come on. Trent, I wish I could talk to you all day. And, what I would like to do is leave an open door for you to come back.
Please. I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
And what I mentioned to you earlier is that I would love to get a group of people on who would share theory and philosophy about magic, because I'm a student of magic, and I would love to have people like you come back on to share your wisdom and knowledge. Trent,
wow, wisdom and knowledge, that's pretty heavy, Chris. I don't know. Wisdom and knowledge.
I have to be more careful with my words, because Phil out. I called Phil a legend, and he said that he threw it right back at me. That means I'm too old. But
by the way, Phil, the video's coming. I'm doing some video work for Phil right now. So yeah,
Trent, I always have to ask my featured guests, could you leave the audience with a positive note or anything that you would like to say to them before we close the show?
Absolutely. And I touched on this earlier. Be a pebble in a pond. We have spent far too long in sadness and negativity, in we versus them, in COVID, in death and sickness.
Yeah.
The time has come to turn the tide. To everything there is a season, as they say in that book we all read. But to everything, yes, there is a season, and I think the season has come to be a pebble in a pond. Drop a positive note into the world and watch the ripples form. Because you can be an agent of change. I try to do it all the time with these goofy little tricks that I do and my silly voices and just trying to be, as our friend Nick Sorensen would say, trying to be the best buddy I possibly can to my friends. Because if you're positive, they'll find at least a little piece of that positivity and carry it along to the next person. Yeah. Be a pebble.
Be a pebble. Well said, Trent. I really appreciate your words. I really appreciate your time. And I also appreciate everyone's time out there who came to visit this man and his magic. And
thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, wow. Unbelievable.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Trent Rentsch. My name is Chris Herren as Faust. And thank you once again for coming. And we hope to see you here. We hope you enjoyed. Trent, thank you so much. And we
thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.